John Nolte from Big Hollywood, thanks so much for coming on Cam and Company.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, listen, anytime people are willing to talk about Fast and Furious, we're happy to have them on. And you know, you're right. If you look at the corrupt Politico's front page right now, it's almost laughable how out of touch it is with everything except the reality the Obama campaign would like to create. I would say that Politico is far from the only guilty party right now, but you make a great point that, you know, the media here in Politico in particular right now pushing these silly stories when there are big, serious stories, John, that they are utterly ignoring.
Yeah, and they're intentionally ignoring these stories. I mean, it's not the reason I singled out Politico in that piece was because they also had nothing up about Libya except a story that portrayed Libya as a problem for the Romney campaign because they're unnamed sources. And Politico's always got these unnamed sources, and I'm pretty sure the name of their unnamed source is Joe Scarborough. But their unnamed sources say that the Romney campaign can't figure out how to attack the Libya thing. So there's nothing. You have these are huge, huge scandals. This is Watergate with a body count in Libya and in Fast and Furious. In both cases, the administration, at best, incompetence caused people to die. Security lapses in Benghazi and a utterly foolish and stupid gun-running operation called Fast and Furious. So, but the media they won't cover those scandals because those scandals will hurt Barack Obama. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember very well because I was following it minute by minute, just like I am now. 2004, the media was hitting Bush at this time in the election with every scandal they could manufacture.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, you know, we had the whole Rathergate.
You had the Rathergate. I remember a scandal the New York Times made a week out of because some of the munitions that we had taken in Iraq to destroy were missing. And they made it sound like it was a whole lot of munitions, and it ended up being like a 1% of everything that we had destroyed. And that's what they were hitting Bush with every day, trying to find something new about the Iraq War and the body count and how it was all falling apart and how we were losing. And now they're taking that approach to Mitt Romney over stupid stuff like 47% and him criticizing the Cairo embassy apology. So it's really remarkable.
Well, it is remarkable. And John, I got to tell you, I mean, I think it is look, I don't think there is, even if Obama was comfortably ahead in the poll, legitimately comfortably ahead in the polls,
right.
I think we would still see this to some degree from the media, given the fact that, you know, as you point out, you know, the media loves to talk about these polls showing Obama pulling away, you know, D+9 in Florida when Florida was D+3 in 2008. I really don't think that Florida has gone, you know, that heavily Democratic over the last 4 years. I don't think Florida's been a real boomtown economy. So I just can't imagine that that's true. But, you know, they'll talk about these things because, A, they want to depress conservative, Republican, independent turnout. They want us to believe that the election's already over. And two, I think they want to try to reassure their base and possibly even themselves that things are okay. You know, their president isn't in trouble. You know, everything's going to be just fine. Like the economy, John. Everything's going to be just fine.
Well, the other thing that they're doing, and this I think has always been their overarching narrative, and that's that they're trying to portray the Romney campaign as incompetent. So if Romney's losing, and if he's losing by 8-10 points, they could say, well, it's an incompetent campaign. And one way to disqualify a challenger is to make people believe that he's incompetent. If he can't run a good campaign, they're not going to trust him to run the country. So that's another reason that they're using these ridiculously skewed polls to portray Romney as incompetent and to portray him behind, because the hope is that that narrative will stick and people won't vote for him just because it's like, well, you know, I don't know if this guy can run the country because he ran such a bad campaign. I'm not saying Romney's run a good campaign, but it's nowhere near as bad as what the media is portraying it as.
No, and meanwhile, you know, again, Barack Obama, his campaign can do no wrong, even when it does wrong.
Yeah, and that's the other narrative that the media is working on. And I've mentioned this before, is that ever since the convention, the media narrative has been Mitt Romney can do nothing right and Barack Obama can do nothing wrong. And no matter, even if the wrong is embassy security or the consulate security in Benghazi, even if the wrong is that for 5 days, 5 to 8 days, the White House blatantly lied about what caused the murder of our ambassador and 3 other Americans in Libya. Obama can do nothing wrong, and Romney can do nothing right. And if they stick to that narrative, that's how they want to qualify Mitt Romney, by, again, making him seem incompetent.
Yeah, and so, John, obviously, I think that what we have to do, not just you and me, but, the consumers of news right now, we have got to make sure. We need to be a little annoying, I think, on our social media, like on our Facebook pages, on our Twitter feeds. We need to be blasting out news links to articles like yours that really do get the truth out there. We can fight back and we can push back against this media narrative, but we have to be our own media.
We have to be, and that's another thing that we have to realize too, is that I fight the media all day. That's what I do for the most part. But what I do is not the most important thing that Breitbart News does. The most important thing Breitbart News does is talk about what's happening in the world. It's talk about the news. It's talk about Libya. Talk about Fast and Furious. Because we are the news now, and by we, I mean new media. So if we get lost in the minutia of fighting the battle with the media, and that becomes all that we do in new media, we're losing because we're on their turf. It's an important part of what we do, but the most important thing we can do is say, look at what happened in Benghazi. Look at what happened with Fast and Furious, because we are the media now, and we can make an impact. We're as every bit as good at what we do and have as much impact as Politico does. We just don't have MSNBC and CBS picking up what we do, but it's picked up all over Facebook. And again, I'm talking about new media, not just Breitbart News, because it's picked up everywhere. So you're right. That's what we need to do. We need to tell the truth. We need to get the news out there. Talking about these polls was a very big deal because the news media was taking these polls as gospel. Like, they're journalists, right? But they're just being spoon-fed these polls.
Yeah.
But it's the rest of us, it's new media going, wait a minute, you're trying to tell me Barack Obama's going to triple his turnout advantage in Florida over 2008? I don't believe that. But the media treats us like we're lunatics because we're the ones questioning. We're the ones who are skeptical. We're the ones who are curious. So who are the real journalists now? But we get that news out there, and people hear that, and it helps. So it is. It's very important that we remember that we're the media, and then exactly what you said, get everything out there, and do not let the media demoralize us into giving up.
Absolutely. Hey, John, thank you again, sir, for coming on the program. Great talking to you tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Anytime.
Absolutely. John Nolte with Big Hollywood join us here tonight on Cam and Company.